Hey guys, welcome to the studio. Today I'm going to talk to you about how I organize this. A lot of people have trouble when it's time to set up an art studio because we have so much stuff and so much junk. I think it's just kind of part of being an artist. You collect all these different things and it's really hard to make sense of it and to make it organized so that you can find it. So I'm going to kind of walk around with you and show you some things I did that helped my area to feel nice and organized so that I actually want to work in here. I'm going to start out over here in this corner. I have a cart that has different paints, my plates I use sometimes when I paint. And then you'll notice on the top, I just used a bunch of leftover coffee mugs. I didn't buy anything new, but just used what I had to sort different pencils, paintbrushes, markers, pens, and all that, and kind of organize them. If you have a separate container for each thing, it makes it easier to find than just putting all your different stuff into one big container. So that's one suggestion. It's an easy way to use stuff maybe you already have on hand. Another thing I did, and I mentioned this before in the art studio update video, is the paint board. This has been a huge time saver. I used to just have them in like a big Sterilite tub, and I would have to dig through and try to find what color I needed. And this board I just bought at Lowe's. It's pretty heavy duty, but I just finished it with like a whitewash and then held up my paint tubes and hammered some nails in so that I could hang my paints. And it's great because it gets them out of the way. It uses up wall space instead of floor or table space by using a tub. And it's also just a big time saver. So this has been a great thing that you could do with any old board that you've got. By just hammering some nails in there. And if your paint tubes don't have like the holes, if you use a different brand, you can always use like a binder clip and clip it on the end of your paint tube and then use the little silver part of the binder clip to hang it on a nail. So that's an idea if you use tube type paints. Over here, I think you kind of have to have shelves. If you have a studio, you typically just are going to have some things that need to go on shelves. One thing I found that was really helpful are these little drawers. You can buy these at Walmart or Target, but they're just nice for little things like erasers or stamps. I also have one that's titled Picture Hanging that has like my picture wire to string across the back of canvases. But that's a way to make it look nice and orderly. And I went on and got 3 because that way it took care of everything I had that was small. Let's see, another thing, when you first start trying to organize your space, it's good to like take an inventory and just kind of get everything you have, maybe put it in the middle of the room and start dividing it. Like, here's all my colored pencils, here's all my sketchbooks, and then kind of decide what categories you have and then separate it out from there. And so I ended up having like a stack of different drawing books, adult coloring books, sketchbooks, things that I draw in, and that's what this shelf is for. And then I have my husband, who's also an artist. His is over here, and so we each kind of have our own space and can find it easily. But before, it's like I would have one sketchbook on this side, the other one over here, and I could never find it. And so now I've got my section, he's got his, and it's easy to find. Another thing about using the space that you have, a lot of us are limited in our space, and I am lucky to have the art studio, but it's also not the biggest room, and so I have to think carefully about how to use my space. And so some things, like under the couch here, I have like my poster boards that I use when I'm doing my demonstration videos. That's kind of an odd thing to store, but it fits perfect under the couch. So think about hidden spaces like that you can use, because it can keep your area feeling nice, but you can also hang on to that stuff that you need. Another thing, if you're going to make purchases for an art studio, if you can find things that are stackable or that collapse for storage, that's a great thing. Like our lighting equipment, it collapses. These stools that I got at IKEA are stackable. So I have 5 seats right there that I can sit out at any given time. But when I want them out of the way, I can stack them up, and that's all the space that they take up. So that is a great thing if you can find something that's easily stored. Over here, I just repurposed a magazine rack for different tablets and notebooks and pieces of artwork and signs that I need to hang on to that I don't want to get rid of. But that stuff was like odd, and it didn't fit on a shelf, and so it looked junky laying on the table. So if you can find a magazine rack at a yard sale or something, it's great for canvases, tablets, anything kind of loose like that. It makes it look organized and gets it out of the way. I also talked about in the art studio update video about how this room has to also serve the purpose for my dog. And so I have her crate under the table space, and that's just kind of an unused area that I was able to repurpose for that. So there again, I'm trying to use space that I don't normally use to serve another purpose. And that's also what I did with this shelf up here. I used the height of my wall. So if you have wall space that you're not using, think about putting in shelves. They're very affordable. You can get something like this at IKEA. I think for the brackets and that was $20 or less. So very affordable. And then these little totes right here are really nice. They have a little finger hole so you can grab them easily. I got them from Target. I think they were maybe $3 a piece. It helps if you repeat the same container over and over. It kind of gives your space a little bit more of a streamlined feel and makes it feel more organized. At my old house, I used to have just different containers, and it felt kind of just junky. They were all different textures, colors, sizes, and it just kind of seemed overwhelming to the eye. Where when you have something like that, it's just nice and visually pleasing and easygoing to look at. So if you can afford to do something like that, I think it makes your space feel a lot calmer, and then you feel more like working if it feels, you know, organized like a place you can work. So anyways, I think I covered most of my tips on organization. I hope that some of those helped you and can kind of give you some ideas for your space so that you can make it a place that you'll love to work. So anyways, thanks for listening.